Alright, so as a disclaimer, the 4K is not the best option for autofocus on either of these Panasonic systems. This video is just to demonstrate the differences between, say, a Pro GH5 and a prosumer G85 in regards to their 4K autofocus capabilities. So basically watch, enjoy, and see if you can make any takeaways for yourself. And just remember that at the end I'll be sharing some interesting observations on a couple of the settings that we both actually found helpful during the testing. Alright, so my biggest takeaway for sure is that you probably shouldn't use Panasonic if you want reliable autofocus. It certainly does work, but with a few caveats. One of the caveats being shooting in 1080 will certainly improve the performance. That's really no doubt about that, but that comparison is definitely for a different video, and that really wasn't the purpose of this video. First things that we noticed were that face tracking on this particular 50mm equivalent lens usually works well within, I would say, 15 feet of the camera. So any farther back, and it tends to lose tracking on the face for both cameras. Another interesting thing, which kind of makes sense when you think about it, when we used my Sigma 30, we didn't really show it in the video, but using that 60mm equivalent, it actually changed the face tracking distance. Like I said, the 25mm 1.2s, so the 50mm equivalent had like a 15-foot range from the camera when you're using face tracking, and when you throw a 60mm equivalent onto it, it actually changed that distance to around, I would say, 18 to 20 feet you could be from the camera, and it would kind of keep your face tracking, which, I mean, it all makes sense, but I thought it was a different, or at least an interesting observation. So any farther back and it ends up losing you. So focal length definitely affects face tracking distance. Another thing is tracking seems to have a kind of a hard time when a subject is really close, almost opposite of the face tracking, where once you move beyond 15-ish feet, it actually had a much better time keeping focus, though it was pretty spotty when you're moving around. You know, also tracking really doesn't like faces. We had to track to my t-shirt. Actually, we tried my face at first, but we actually had to move over to my t-shirt in order to accurately track me back and forth. And just as we expected, the software actually does a pretty excellent job with the actual tracking. The little box on the screen works out really well, but really does kind of a lousy job reliably focusing on a moving subject. So I guess I would say if you have to shoot 4K talking head with autofocus, you can probably use face detect at f2 to f2.8, and it would probably work for you pretty well. So just a couple observations we made. We'll be doing a 1080p video, I would say somewhat distant future, just going over the differences between the two. But if you have any questions about autofocus or anything to do with Panasonic, or you want to chime in with your own input on it, let me know in the comments. Anyways, thank you to David for helping me out with this and volunteering his 2 Olympus Pro 25 1.2s. Super helpful for this video, and I hope this was somewhat helpful to you as well, and we'll see you all next week.